Good evening, YouTube. I'm Tanner,
And I'm Danielle.
and we are here to give you a whiskey review. As a Texan, I'm excited to review the Still Austin bourbon whiskey. Tell them the story, Danielle.
Today we went to Specs and we were in the bourbon aisle as per usual, and there was a guy just standing there and asked us, like, are you guys looking for anything in particular? And I was like, why is this random guy just asking? But turns out he works for Still Austin and is just doing some marketing, trying to get their name out, trying to get the bottle into consumers' hands. And so we picked it up because it's kind of hard to say no when the guy's right there. So yeah, we're gonna try it for you guys here today. Still Austin is located in South Austin, founded in 2015, and they operate on a grain to glass concept. So all of their grains are 100% grown by Texas farmers and distilled in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, and definitely looking forward to going to visit the distillery. I love Austin. This would be a great trip to go down there. Check out Still Austin. Check out the other the whiskey scene down there. One thing to note about the bottle, this is called The Musician, and I think that ties into the live music theme of Austin, so pretty cool they did that. A little about the whiskey. It is a bourbon. It's 75% white corn, non-GMO white corn. 70% white corn, 25% rye, and a 5% malted barley. So cool little bottle. Anything special on the bottle?
It's a new custom bottle and label. A local Austin artist was commissioned for this rollout, which happened last summer, summer 2020. So, yeah, brand new bottle art from Still Austin.
All right. The lead distiller is John Chappell, and yeah, it's aged at least 2 years. It's probably going to be a little of a less mature whiskey or a less mature bourbon. To be bourbon, it has to be aged at least 2 years, but they don't give an actual year or time of age. They developed this whiskey last summer of 2020. It's got a nice, I'd say amber color. I wouldn't call it caramel. Would you say amber?
I would say probably a light amber. Yeah.
A light amber color to the whiskey. Let's go ahead and pour it.
And this is bottled at 98.4 proof, so that's 49.2 ABV. So we'll try it out first, kind of see what we get on the nose, what we're tasting, and then add a couple drops of water to it to kind of open it up and see what we get after that.
Yeah, I prefer my whiskeys around, I'd say around 44% ABV or 88 proof. Anything that wearing that 40 to 44% for me, I think is a sweet spot. But you know, everyone's palate is different. Taste is subjective. What people enjoy is subjective. So there's no right or wrong answer to should you put water in your bourbon or should you use ice.
Right.
A lot of it is again, it's just very personal. It's very subjective. Around 49% or 50% ABV. It'd be a little. It's definitely, you should get a little bit of alcohol burn, I'm gonna assume.
Yeah, absolutely. So around there is when I would start maybe putting some droplets in there. Cask strength whiskeys and things like that, you want to put a drop or two in there just to settle it down a little bit.
Of course.
I mean, unless you like it that way.
This might, you know, at 49%, it might be really good in an old fashioned.
Yeah.
And it has that rye in it too, so expecting a little bit of spice too. So let's go ahead and see what we get on the nose. I think you're supposed to cheers when you drink it, not smell it.
Sorry, guys.
It's very sweet. I think that's the corn up front.
Corn, and I am getting a lot of fruitiness. And just sweetness in general, but a lot of fruit. Tropical fruit, specifically. So pineapple is the main thing that I'm getting.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely sweet. I mean, there's no smokiness. It's not very oaky.
And you wouldn't expect it to be. It's 2 years old, so how much of that flavor is really gonna absorb? Yeah.
Maybe peaches is the fruit that I'm getting.
Yeah, there's fruit somewhere in there. Yeah, I'm getting pineapple and coconut.
I think maybe there's some maltiness, some cereal, maybe Rice Krispies or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Could be the barley.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right,
I
cheers.
agree. Cheers again.
So it's sweet. It's definitely sweet and a little spicy going down. I think you get the rye kind of on the back of your tongue on the finish. It's pretty well balanced. It's for being a younger bourbon, it's not doesn't taste like alcohol. It definitely has some good characteristics to it.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm getting a very round mouthfeel. I would say that it dissipates pretty evenly across my palate, my tongue. On the finish, I'm getting toasted almond. Maybe not toasted almond. I think it's like a little bit of an oaky flavor. I know you said that you don't really feel like a lot of oak is present, but there's something. Maybe it's the char. I'm not really sure, but toasted something in there.
Yes, and it's not a very complex whiskey. I mean, I know I said it has some character. You do taste the newness of it, though. Maybe that sounds a little contradictory, but I think it's you definitely. I feel you feel the transition from or the blend of the corn and the rye.
Okay.
But I don't get a ton of depth.
I was gonna use that same word.
Yeah, I don't get a ton of depth in the flavors.
Yeah. I kind of like the subtle alcohol burn that you get on the back. Just because not to use the word smooth, but just because it's so smooth on the front, that I actually kind of appreciate the burn on the back.
Yeah, it's got a good the spicy finish is
yeah.
It lingers a little bit.
Yeah.
It lingers a little bit.
Cool.
I'm gonna pour a little bit more, and then I'm gonna cut mine.
Okay.
I forgot. You want to cut yours, or
yeah? I don't need any more though.
It's another splash. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so if you open the whiskey up, you can use water. A lot of people think that just swirling the whiskey around will have oxygen get into the whiskey and have the powers of oxygen open up the. Yeah. Definitely maltiness and sweetness on the nose again. The water almost, I don't know, it reminded me of, it almost brought out some moonshine kind of qualities, but it's definitely leading with corn and that raw bourbon feel.
Yeah.
It toned down the rye a little bit on the finish, I think, so it wasn't quite as spicy. It didn't linger as much.
And I feel like I don't really like that. I feel like the spice is the most exciting thing about this to me. So by cutting that out, I mean, yeah, you kind of get the flavors that I was getting before, that they're amplified. But I miss the burn a little bit. Just because there's not a lot of depth there. So I want a little bit more like of a sensory experience, I guess. And adding the water kind of takes that away for me.
I do get some dark chocolate or cocoa. I get some bitterness on the roof of my mouth now, on the finish.
I can see that. Kind of like, I don't know if I get the chocolate flavor, but I get, the feeling that you have in your mouth when you have like really like high percentage like dark chocolate, maybe like 85-90%. That
when you want to
dry,
pucker a little bit.
Yeah, that dry feeling that you get when you have like really pure dark chocolate. I
think that's like it's the cocoa.
Yeah,
this is what I'm kind of getting.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Well, maybe, I mean, that kind of, not that this is very smoky and not that there's any like campfire vibes at all, but to go off of your like Rice Krispie cereal note that you were getting, I was kind of getting a little bit of like marshmallow, so like the chocolate and marshmallow like s'mores is like, and like with the toasty notes, yeah, I could definitely go ahead and call it s'mores, I think.
Okay. Well, let's wrap it up. Any final words of wisdom, last notes?
It's not a bad whiskey for the price. At $45 retail, it's definitely not terrible, and I'm glad that I tried it. Being a Texan, supporting local businesses is always a great thing to do, but I do not think I would go out of my way to buy it again. It's not very deep. There's not a lot of complexity there. It doesn't really excite me in any way. But it's not bad. It's not terrible or awful. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, it's good. I don't think it's great. As a fellow Texan, I always want to support local, always want to support Texas. I still want to definitely want to go down to Austin, check out the distillery,
sure.
and curious to see or anxious to see what else they do, what else they are going to bring to the table. Texas whiskeys have been growing and gaining in popularity these last few years. And they've got a lot of good products out there. So there's a lot of competition for still Austin. This, I think, is a solid bourbon. I don't know that I would, like you said, go out and buy it again. I think it would blend really well in an old fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
But
on its own,
straight alone drinkability. Again, I think it's just lacking in a little bit of character, a little bit of depth, and I think that just you can attest that to the youth. The lack of maturity of the bourbon and the aging process. So that's all we got for you tonight, and hope you guys enjoyed. If you've tried this or have any questions or want us to review a whiskey for you, drop it in the comments. You guys have a great day.
See you next time.